Welcome this morning. I'm really glad that you all came. SCELT has helped us to start Chamber almost 10 years ago, touring around the country and talking about how important the Chamber is for Slovakia or for us, Slovak English teachers. And now the time came to pay back SCELT and support you guys doing the great work for much longer than 10 years. So I do believe that it all work out well, and there's going to be another at least 30 years of great work. How today is going to work is that now Anka will tell you a bit more, and we have some pictures to show and the students who she wanted to share her experience with SCELT. And then we will introduce our three speakers, Anka, Jančová, Evka Balážová, and Andrea Zahumenská. And then each one of us who's going to be speaking, we're going to be handing over, we just mute, okay. Handing over the hosting. Yep. So Anička, over to you. If you want to say a few words, and I'll set up the video in a meanwhile.
Okay. Okay, so hello everybody. It's great you are here. I hope some more people are coming because there are about 35 people registered. And here is the video of one student who really loved staying with SCELT. She was there twice, and she had a fantastic host mother. Okay, so
let's listen to Julie.
Okay, Julie. Mark, you know her?
Hello, SCELT. I heard that you're having a birthday. Congratulations. Happy birthday. And let me thank you for all the work that SCELT has did in all those years that it existed, and for all the students that they had a huge impact on. For example, me, I can't even imagine how my life would be without the opportunity to stay with SCELT and to meet all those people, to learn with the teachers, to explore all the places, all the towns and small villages, especially Barnstaple. And especially thankful I am for my British grandma, Pam. Hello, Pam. And I would like to wish you a happy birthday, and I hope that you'll survive this. I know it's probably a hard year, almost two, but I think that you're an amazing organization, and I wish you happy birthday, and I wish you staying with students and changing lives for at least another 30 years. Happy birthday.
Brilliant.
Okay, so she was really happy with SCELT. Okay, and here are some pictures I would like to show. I had to be very careful to choose the pictures because of the GDPR. Okay, so there are just few pictures from our stay. From school.
It's Tim, right?
Yes, Tim. Unfortunately, he died.
Tom.
Tim was the other guide. Some quotations I love from school. The journal we always have. It's from Valley of Rocks, beautiful place.
Well, the Devon is the most beautiful part of England anyway.
It is.
Right?
It definitely is. Kirsty, Penier Market. Oh, it's not a very yes. Woolacombe Beach. Woolacombe Beach. Yes, Woolacombe Beach. And we are on the way. Mark, I can't remember the village. We went from Exeter to something beginning with a T, not Torrington, something like that. It was along the
Teignmouth on the train.
Yes, Teignmouth. Yes, Teignmouth, yes.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was the school, the church, an old school, the country. SCELT cooperates with our program. Yeah.
Ackland.
It's our lot.
Favorite part of the trip.
Yes. And here the cooperation of SCELT. We are on the way to Woolacombe Beach. It's another guide. No, it's not. It's
not Tim.
It's Matt. It's Matt.
And Matt will be doing a session at the beginning of June on Barnstaple, no?
Yes.
In our town. So come to that if you can.
Okay, yes. We will. It's from Rosemore Garden, which is close to Barnstaple. Beautiful gardens. If you are there, definitely go there.
And Ali Campbell, our teacher in Devon, she will be doing gardeners question time, and she'll be doing things from Rosemore as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you are hungry, you can go to the restaurant in Rosemore. The kids at school, we are preparing the projects. The students always prepare
Hash brown.
yeah, breakfast. Yes, this is from, I think, from Linmas. Busy preparing the presentations. And here we are in London because we always stop in London on the way back home. Shakespeare. Okay. Yes, just a few because I couldn't share the pictures with the faces of the students too much, so not to have any problems. Yes, so thank you for watching.
So thank you, Anka, for the pictures. Yeah, Devon is definitely the most beautiful part. I mean, maybe Kerry or someone else can, argue for a different part of England, but I would say North Devon is just amazing. So let's start with the first speaker, Evka Balážová, who is going to talk about positive attitudes and positive results. Evka is a school owner in Zvolen. School is called Troika. And I'd like to thank her very much about being part of today and helping SOL and SCELT supporting our festival. So thank you, Evka, for your time, and looking forward to your workshop. I'll hand over a host, so you actually control the meeting. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. So before I'm going to share my screen, I want to say thank you for inviting me. And I'm not, Klaudia, I'm not the school owner. I'm the teacher at school in Zvolen, and the school is called Troika. So this is probably something different. So now I'm going to, present. Okay, so can you see my presentation now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, everything okay?
Yes.
Okay, so we can start. Okay, so happy birthday, Sol. I'm happy that I can present for such positively viewed organization, because I've heard many teachers and students talking about their experiences with SOL, and I believe that it is life-changing experience for students, and it is very motivating, and it can be one of the factors that can make students think positively about language learning. Yes. And this is the topic of my presentation today. Positive attitudes bring positive results. This is what I really believe in. And I'm convinced that positive attitudes can really bring positive results and can make positive difference, not only in the language proficiency for students. So the title of this presentation comes from my own teaching experience, and I think that many teachers will agree with me that positive classroom is better than the negative one. Yes, that the students really love teachers who are in a good mood, who view things positively. And this is not only my belief or my experience, but also Stephen Krashen was focusing on his affective filter hypothesis, which looks terribly theoretical, but this is also true that he was focusing on language acquisition, not learning, but language acquisition and language learning situations are similar in many aspects, and he simply in this hypothesis believes that a learner's feeling and attitude create a filter that freely pass, impedes, or block input that is necessary for language acquisition or language learning. So affection is the word in his hypothesis. What does that mean? Macmillan dictionary shows that the meaning of this English word is highly positive. It means a feeling or liking and caring about someone or something. So I think that all teachers are happy when their students like English, when they have positive feelings about the language, about the learning. And this is what we wish. Yes, this is what teachers long for, and we believe that it can bring really positive results. Well, the filter means that if the feelings and attitudes of learner are really positive, the filter is low. It means there is much more space for comprehensible input to get to the learner. Yes, so they simply, to put it simply, they learn more when their feelings and attitudes are positive. That they are motivated, they are self-confident, there is a good self-image, they see themselves in a good view, and there is a low level of anxiety. So all of these factors make learning English as a foreign language much, much easier for the learner. Now I'm going to divide you into two groups, and we are going to think together about some things and factors that can make learning environment either positive or negative. And we are going to divide in group A and group Z. Group A are older learners whose first name starts with letter A to L. It means if your first name starts with letter A, B, C, D, and so on to L, you are in group A. Please use chat and write anything that in your opinion, makes the learning environment positive. And group Z, it is for participants whose first name starts with M to Z, M, N, O, and so on to Z. And you please use chat box to list factors that make learning environment negative, okay? So I'm waiting for your ideas. And let's assign, let's say, 1 or 2 minutes to do so. So any ideas? Okay, safe environment. People looking at each other's bags all the time. I think this is negative, yes. Good idea. Music, okay. Teacher-based class. Nice classroom, yes. Well-being, acknowledgement, feel of wanted, heard, and valued, yes. Okay, thank you, really nice ideas. Humor, jokes, yes. Students like having fun, wrong feedback. Yeah, this happens quite a lot, I think. Not being friendly, teacher walking into the classroom. Yes, it's important who comes to the classroom. Games. Yes, thank you.
Alcohol.
I don't know if this is positive or negative. Relaxing activities. Not being smiler, yes. Moody teacher. Depends on the amount of booze. Okay, yeah. Okay, so thank you. So I'll show you a sort of recap. So this is a school. Oh, this is the school, which is rather negative, isn't it? Yes, there is failure, order, demands, boredom, bans, tests, strict teachers, and mistakes. These are factors that students view as negative. Yes, and on the other hand, there is school full of positive factors. Students who feel accepted, supported, recognized, acknowledged, school where there are equal opportunities for everyone, smiling teachers, smiling people, inclusion is very important, motivation, I mean positive motivation, because motivation can be also negative, and love, yes. So this is positive school, and that one was the negative school. Nothing in the world is black or white, yes? So we can say that positive and productive learning environments are key to students' academic and emotional and social success in school. So we need as much positive factors as possible. However, there are some negatively viewed factors that we can't send away from school, yes? Students always make mistakes. There are teachers and we are people. There are moody teachers, there are strict teachers, there are lovely teachers. Yes, teachers are very different. There are always demands, and there is always stress at school, yes? There are students who fail very often, and there are some things at school that are boring, and students are sometimes bored. So what can we do with these things? And this is the content of my next slides. Yes, I'm going to give you some tips from my own experience that can make even these negatively viewed factors positive. Okay, so let's turn them into something positive. So how to do it? Recently, I've been doing questionnaire with my students. I wanted to know how did they see the distance learning, online learning, and one of the questions was, think of our distance learning lessons, and the questions was for students was, what did you like? Yeah, and the answers were different, but I'm going to show you some of them. Yes, so this one, for example, we had a great time and lots of fun. Yes, this is what students like. I was always looking forward to our English lessons. This is what teachers long for. Yes, so that students look forward to English lessons. All the interesting activities were just amazing. I liked you were always in a good mood and smiling at us. This is what many students wrote to me. So I realized that it is really very important what kind of teacher addresses students, yes? What is your mood? If you are smiling or not, if you are in a good mood or not, it really influences the students' attitudes and feelings too very much. Yes, so this is the moment when I realized, and this one was funny. There was nothing the student liked. I don't like school at all. Is one of the negative students. However, it was funny to hear your dogs walking on the floor. Yeah, so at least something positive that the student liked. So when you smile a lot, sometimes your smile may be the only one the child sees today. And sometimes we forget to smile because it depends on our mindset. Yes, so smile a lot and everything will be nicer even at school. Be the energy you want to attract. This is also infectious, I'd say, in the classroom. When the teacher is full of energy, smiling, it wakes the students up. They are more active, engaged in activities, and the work is more dynamic. And this is really good environment for learning a lot from such a lesson. So this is also something that the teachers should bear in mind, to be the energy you want to attract, and it works, yes. The teacher's attitude is also infectious. I like using that word, infections. It is modern nowadays, yes, it's in, but this really works. If your attitude is positive and you believe in it, students' attitude also changes. Yes, the teacher is the change agent in the classroom, and it is important to realize that when teaching English. Yes. There are some situations that we teachers view negatively, but there is always a positive way to respond to a situation. I've got an example from my online lessons. When I started teaching with Zoom last year, my students found out that there are some drawing tools for highlighting, drawing, and that they can use them and everyone else can see their drawing on screen, and they found it very funny. I think it is not only me who has such experience. Yes, so the first one who started to use the drawing tools and draw some lines on the screen, the other students immediately stopped listening to me and started looking for the tools on screen. And when they found them, everyone started to draw on my screen. And that was really, this is the result, yes. They started to, it was really difficult to stop that. And I call it the digital way for students of disturbing the lesson. Yes, this is their digital way to disturb the lesson. So I was thinking how to stop them. I can't make them to stop it. So I assigned 2 minutes for them and allowed them to use the tools. Okay, you can use all of them. Try all of them. If you like some, you can draw anything on the screen, and then we will make a copy and it will be your drawing, your class drawing. So this is the drawing of 7A class from our school. And they played with the drawing tools, and when we stopped it, everything was all right. Yes, so they were ready to listen to the lesson again, and we could continue. So this is maybe the positive way to react to some situations in the class. When it comes to the content of learning, some students find many activities boring, and they are maybe not in a good mood, they haven't got good day. But if we try to make the learning relevant and vital, something that is within their life experience, within their interest, I think it is much better for them, and they can be engaged in activities more than pushing them to do things they are not interested in. So when we started present learning, it was a few weeks ago that students came back to school. There was one positive moment that people were allowed to make trips without tests, without a face mask. And I decided to make the most of this positive fact, and I asked students to make pictures. And the topic of the picture was our first trip after the lockdown. Can you draw a picture? How do you imagine your first trip after the lockdown? Where would you go? What would you do? Who would you like to meet? Yes, maybe there are people you haven't seen for a long time and you would like to meet them, you would like to do something with them. And it was very simple drawing. They were working in pairs. Each student had their own color, and they were drawing in pairs, taking turns, making really simple drawings. And they couldn't communicate, they couldn't talk. So they didn't know what the drawing means. They could only guess the meaning of the drawing. And they contributed with their own pictures. And when I said stop, the story was ready. So here at the bottom, you can see their teacher. This is 7A class, and this is their teacher, my colleague Paolo, who always wears glasses and who comes to school by bike. They love him really much because he is one of the funny teachers who love students, and they love him. So they would like to meet Paolo, their teacher, on their first trip. So, and then the task was to make the story, to tell the story together. It was storytelling activity about the picture. So very simple, and everyone liked the activity. Even low achievers worked hard on the picture. Yes, so this is one tip, how to make the content of language learning relevant to students' interests. Okay. Another negative thing was mistake at school. Students view mistakes negatively, but I think it's important to explain that mistakes are an integral, normal part of learning. Yes, it is. This was the activity with my class, and I asked them, can you please draw the picture of your mistakes? How does your mistake look like? If it was a sort of creature, how would it look like? And this poster gave me a lot of feedback, a lot of information about how do they view mistakes. You can see negative pictures and also some positive pictures. Some pictures are half positive, half negative. Yes, their fantasy was really broad. Some of them viewed pictures like animals, either cute or ugly. Some of them viewed their mistakes like the heroes from PC games or from films. And it is very important that the mistakes remind them some stressful experience with test, or this is an alarm clock, yes, which rings every morning. And even COVID picture, the 5 students don't like marks, yes, so they associate mistakes with something negative. And this is what I wanted to change, because I think that mistakes should be used for learning in classroom. And I explained my students that you are allowed to make mistakes. Don't feel stress when you make a mistakes. Everyone who learns languages make mistakes. But it is not okay to make the same mistakes many times, yes, to repeat the same mistake. If you learn from the mistakes, you will soon stop making it. Yes, so this is what I always explain to my students. And this is the way how I want to change mistakes into something positive in the class. And I will show you one tip with writing activity. When I make the feedback, for example, we have some grammar exercise. Students fill the gaps with the words in past simple, and we check the answers. And I want to know, as a teacher, how did they do the exercise? Yes, how many students can make past simple, how many students can't make past simple. So teachers usually ask, how many mistakes did you have? But I ask rather, how many right answers did you get? Yes, so I want to focus more on achievements than on mistakes or correct. This is important. The success, the correct answer, each correct answer is a success for student. My students don't like writing. They don't like writing because they find it very difficult to write even a short text. I teach lower secondary students, and they find it difficult. So if there is enough time, I do writing at school. I don't assign writing as a homework, because then I'm deprived of the chance to teach writing. Yes, so I want to do writing at school. And this is what I use for correcting their writing, their first draft. I'm not writing the correct answers, the correct word forms, the correct word order. I just indicate the mistake with this sort of correction code. And this is what it looks like when I mark the first draft. Yes, this is the story from the activity with the pictures. So Hannah wrote the story and she made some mistakes. Here in orange, you can see, for example, the wrong word order. The head was in singular and it should have been in plural. So I just indicated at the end of the line that there is some spelling mistake. At the end of the line, there is indicated WO, which means word order mistake, and so on. And then students have time to correct their first draft. They have to find the mistake. They have to find the correct solution to correct it. And they can use all the resources they have. They can use their book, they can use workbook, they can use grammar, outlines, anything they have. They can use dictionary. They can even, sometimes they can even ask their peers. But this is the student who is responsible for correcting the draft. And then when it is corrected, they can write the final version of the text. So this is the whole procedure. They write the first draft. Then I, as a teacher, mark their drafts with the correction code symbols just to indicate where the mistake is and what kind of mistake is it. And then they are assigned time for self-correction, and they write the final version, which is marked. So my question is, who is writing with this procedure? Is it student, or is it their neighbor who is good at English, or is it their mom who is at home and wants a good mark for their son or daughter? Who is responsible for the accuracy, for the correct text? Who is learning from their own mistakes? It's students, I think. Who is improving their English with this procedure, and whose writing is then being marked? So it's students. So this is important. Still, this is a sort of scaffolding and sort of support for their writing, yes. So in this way, we can change mistake into a good experience, and there are no bad marks for writing in my class because everyone knows that they learn from each other. It also encourages cooperative learning in class. Okay, so this is one tip with correction code, and these are the advantages of such writing in the classroom. And I think this has to do also with the other topic of today's meeting. I think Andrejka will speak about independent student. Okay, so of course, students made mistakes, and not all of my students can write a good text, but maybe they are good at something else. So don't stick on prejudices. Don't put the student in the wrong corner. If there is one failure, it doesn't mean that student can't succeed in another activity. Yes, so give them the chance. I really like this quotation. It was said by a 6-year-old student. My teacher thought I was smarter than I was, so I was. And this really works. I can tell you that I have some students who are low achievers, and they really need success. They need the praise, but it is difficult sometimes because you know, when you have the activity, there are always the same students who are the first, who hand in the best test, who are 100%, yes, and there are on the other hand students who don't succeed so often. So I was thinking about the way how to give them the chance and how to support them, how to motivate them, because what they need is intrinsic motivation. And this is really difficult. There are many obstacles that the learner of the foreign language have to overcome. So I was looking for some ways how to point out their own success. And I realized that these students who are called low achievers usually succeed in little partial tasks. So how to highlight them? And I found an interesting idea which really works. When we were learning, for example, irregular verbs, it took maybe 2 or 3 weeks time to come through all of irregular verbs to learn the whole list of irregular verbs they were supposed to. And they were learning it in chunks. Of course, there was regular feedback. This is the graph I suggested students to keep the track. Yes, they were keeping the track of their own progress. And the graph shows that there is progress. It shows that even though this was the low achiever, Richard was his name, he made some progress. There was the reason to be happy, to be proud, and that he could succeed. Yes, that I think, and all the students were happy because there was no student with a bad picture, bad graph. Yes. So it also says, it also gives a student a clear information on the next target, on the next step, what to do next. Do I need to learn more, or what to do to be even better? And this is the way how to get dopamine work, and they want to try again and again to be better and to be able to improve their graphs. Okay, so this is the way, very simple way how to motivate low achievers in the English language class. And I think we reached the end of my session, and my aim was to show you some practical tips how to make the learning more positive, and how to maybe view learning together with your students positively, how to enjoy English lessons together. And I think that these activities can bring positive results. Students are aware of their success and achievements. This is one very important thing. If they are aware of their success and achievements, they are happy and it is positive, and they are looking forward to, the next lesson. Intrinsic motivation is very important, but this is a challenge for teacher. And self-confident students are more successful than the students who are scared of English, who are shy, who don't say a word. Yes. It improves language competence as well. You can see also little improvement in language proficiency, but even little improvement is a step forward. And this is important to highlight in the class. And last but not least is that such activities create friendly and secure learning environment in the class. So I hope you got inspired and you will enjoy your classes with your students, and all the learning will be successful in your classes. Thank you for your attendance, for listening to me. This is the link to my blog, and I hope the next sessions will be also very inspiring and interesting for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Evka.
Thank you very much. It was very inspiring, Evka. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you.
was really, really great. Okay, just please don't leave without handing over the co-host, because I haven't realized, as Andrea has, that I gave you the whole hosting thing. So if you left the meeting, you would cut the meeting short.
Okay. So what shall I do now?
Just please, if you can hand it over to Mark and or to me, doesn't matter, and I'll manage.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me how to hand over?
Yeah, go to my name in the participant list and there is more. And if you click on that.
Okay. Your name in the participant list. Okay. I've got it. Make the house, yeah?
Yes.
So I've made it.
Yes, now I'm waiting for the message. Okay.
Is it okay?
Yes, yes, thank you very much. Got that. Perfect. So thank you, Evka, for the great workshop. Andrea is going to speak about something very similar. And as far as I looked at Anka's presentation, she's not going to be very far away. So it makes a lovely threesome, actually. So Anka, let me introduce you. Sorry, I don't have a camera on. I've just realized. My apologies. So Anka,
Klaudia, let me just say for those people who've come in a bit late, this is our kind of first real example of a SOL Teacher Association joint event. Yeah, we're going to have more of these up until the end of June, but I think it's fabulous, that we have SOL. Fabulous, Klaudia, that you started it, because we sat in Grenville's kitchen, you remember, in January 2013 and planned the first ever SOL camp. And Evka was from Zvolen and there was that one day, I sadly couldn't be there, but when you went to Zvolen for the day on the SOL camp, it just feels really nice that all of these things coming together. Greta is here, and Greta helped us as well find somewhere else for another SOL camp, and in Stará Turá, then Anka got involved there. So it's wonderful to have this Slovak event and to have people from different countries, from the Czech Republic and Ukraine and Romania and all the different Iran, and who else is here from everywhere, that you're all here for this, because we want to make all these things friendly. We're interested in building community. So this is as much about building community as it is about ideas. And of course, it's also about raising money for SOL. We're 30 years old. We need money. We hope we're going to get through it. And ironically, this has brought us together in kind of better ways than ever before the pandemic. Yeah. So there have been, every cloud has a silver lining. I know it's been terrible in all sorts of ways, but at the same time, it has led to very creative cooperation. And this today is a perfect example of this. It was lovely, Anka, to see all the pictures of all the students in Devon, and we must learn from this, with other teacher associations, and to watch this as an example of an excellent event.
Well, yeah, one thing I've learned in pandemic is that the Chinese word for crisis is the same as for the opportunity. So I think that pretty much sums it all. I mean, there's nothing really good about pandemic, but there's a lot of good things we can draw out of it. So let's focus on those. Anka, so I'm wondering what to say. We have known each other virtually for a long time. You being in other parts of Slovakia in person, not that much. But I'm really grateful that you gave us your time and you're going to run a workshop. You do a lot of interesting things. You've been a teacher at a secondary school, you had your own school, you've been a freelancer. So there's a lot of things. You are working with the Comenius Institute. So I'm just handing over to you.
Thanks a lot, Klaudia. Good morning, everybody. I'm really hello. I'm really glad to be here with you. And so let's try to start. I hope.
Let you co-host now. And you can share and do whatever you like.
Yeah, okay. So can I share now, yeah?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Perfect. And so let me move you somewhere. And yeah, let's start like this. Yeah. Whoa, strange sounds from somewhere. Sorry. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, so here we are. So once again, good morning. I'm glad I can be here with you this morning. And my name is Anna Jančová, as you can see, and I'm a secondary school teacher, but as Klaudia said, I have tried many other things within education and teaching. And these days I'm teaching at the gymnasium in Považská Bystrica. And for most of my life, I have been a secondary school teacher, and I teach languages mostly. And I have always been looking for some new ways how to teach and make learning effective and enjoyable for all my students. I suppose that you all have asked yourself this question. For me, this is a kind of question that helps me to get through my difficult teaching times, and it also keeps me on the track whenever I feel somehow overwhelmed or distracted by something that doesn't have to do much with my job. And now I would like to ask you to think about this question for a while, and you even can write about it in the chat if you feel like that. So why do you teach? What's the reason you are teachers? What do you want to achieve? Why is it important to you to do this profession? So I will give you a few seconds to think about it. Yes, so people are still thinking. Okay, so yeah, it's a challenge, and not a day is the same exactly. Yeah, at least to plant the seed of interest for English. Perfect. I love this one. Yeah. Students don't really remember what you said. Okay, so we have, yeah, it's a vocation. Yeah, that's right. It's energizing. Yeah, I have to agree with that. Share my love for the language. Super. So as I can see, your ideas are really enthusiastic, inspiring, very, very positive. And now I have another question for you. If you have a look at this end of the year ways of assessment, which one somehow resonates with this idea of your teaching, of the reason why you teach? I can tell you a story. I can share a story with you. This year I got into a specific situation, or this school year, and because of some personal issues, I had to change school just in the middle of the school year. And so I started teaching at the new school just a few weeks before the half-term classification. And I even started with a subject that is not my subject, that I didn't study. So now I teach something like a Slovak language, but I didn't study it at university. And I even couldn't meet my students face to face because of lockdown, but I somehow had to write their half-term marks, half-term grades. Unfortunately, their teacher died, so I couldn't somehow discuss it with her. And so with the help of my colleagues and with the help of students, we somehow put this assessment together. But I was still questioning myself, what's the sense of this? It didn't make any sense for me. And I think it didn't make any sense for the students as well. And so I think it's not an unusual story that the grades, the marks that we give don't tell much about the student, about his performance. And so the longer I teach, the more I feel uncomfortable with all these. I've heard somewhere, it was a podcast or something like this, that good feedback is like a good murder, or let's say it's good detective story. Because if your feedback, if your assessment is good, it's a source of motivation for your students. It gives them some opportunities, it creates opportunities for your students, and it also provides them with the tools that they need to achieve their goals. So I like this idea that it's a story and that it's a detective story, because in a good detective story, there are a lot of questions, and you are looking for evidence, and so on and so on. So I think this is a good metaphor for feedback and assessment. When I got to this concept a few years ago, to the concept of formative assessment, I realized that it helps me to shape the whole my teaching, because it's about a dialogue in the class, and I like the idea that students are responsible for their teaching, for their learning. And this is exactly what formative assessment is about. So it is a process, and it involves working with students. It shows them where they are in their learning and where they need to go and how to get there. Unfortunately, when you say formative assessment, people very often think about tests or exams, or when you say assessment in general. And when you say formative assessment, teachers think, this is just extra workload, and I will have to write a lot of words and texts and some philosophical paragraphs about my students. So they are not very eager to go deeper into it and to start with it. So I was really happy, and I felt great satisfaction when I stumbled upon this term, responsive teaching. Because, as I said, when you start with formative assessment, you find out that, it's not only about assessment, it's interconnected with everything that's happening in the class. That's why it covers the whole teaching. That's why the term teaching is much better. What it is, it's like stepping in and out of learning activities, and it supports the learning process with the help of well-formed and well-aimed questions, and it gets us into a real picture about what's going on in the class. So if this is not enough for you as an evidence of the teaching, of what your students have learned, you can try it another way. And so you can try it with responsive teaching, and you can try it with getting feedback through Hinge questions. These days in Slovakia and in the Czech Republic, the concept of lazy teacher is very popular. And the concept says that teacher should work intensively when he prepares the lesson, and in the class, the teachers should leave their responsibility and activity to students. And a lot of teachers take this literally, and they think that when they have done their part of work before the class, during the class, they don't have to do anything. And I see this as misunderstanding, because this is exactly the time when the teacher can gather valuable information, valuable feedback on how the students work, how they think, and how to go on with them. The other misconception is that a lot of people think that the teacher in class is just a facilitator and organizer of activities and not a source of information. it could be like that and it should be like that many times, but I think that teachers can be a very effective source of knowledge if they keep in mind that they need ongoing feedback from the class. And now I'm getting to these Hinge questions that can help teachers to get this feedback. What is it? So these questions are diagnostic questions which give you evidence about what your students have done, what they have learned, and what they are supposed to do, or what you and them are supposed to do next. These questions, I have here some examples of these questions that you can use in the middle of the learning process. So you can use them when you are getting from one point to another, and you need to check whether your students have understood and whether it's a signal for you to go on. So here are the examples what you can use as a Hinge question. And what's important at the end of this process, you shouldn't forget always to ask, why is this answer correct? Yeah, so this question, why, is important in this process really much. When you use Hinge questions, you shouldn't forget that the whole class should be involved into this process of evaluation. And that's why I'm using, and I suppose that most of you, a lot of you are using this way of feedback. I use this mini whiteboards, and they are rather practical because you can ask the question, wait for the answer a few seconds, and then ask the students to show you the answer. And you can see whether they are right or not, and you can somehow assess the situation in the class, and you can decide whether to go on or whether it needs some reteaching, more practice, or something like that. Another way to obtain the evidence of learning can be exit tickets. And they can have different forms. You can find many fancy examples on the internet, but generally they are supposed to show what students have learned during the lesson. And so the data from them will give you information for planning your next lesson. And planning is very important. I'm going to talk about it a bit more. And so with the help of these exit tickets, you can decide whether the material needs to be retaught or practiced again, or how to form groups of students, whether there are any misconceptions, and so on and so on. So students are asked these questions at the end of the lesson. And again, there are many, many different ways how to do it, how to benefit from it. So what are the main benefits of exit tickets? So they help you to check for understanding. So you can see at the end of the lesson what concepts the student understood, what they didn't understand, and you can get back to it next lesson. And it helps you guide your next steps during the next lesson, whether you are going practicing or you can go on with something else, or how to form the groups for work. You can work with some students separately, the others can do something else, and so on and so on. It also allows students to ask some questions. They might be shy, they probably don't have time to ask during the lesson, so this is the right time for them. You can use it for self-assessment, and also if you do it regularly, it helps you to keep students engaged, because they still will have somewhere in their heads, oh, at the end I'm going to be asked a question, so I have to pay attention somehow. this is on the left, you can see an example of such an exit ticket. I think this version is for students who are familiar with this method already, so they can somehow self-evaluate themselves and say, okay, I'm good with the topic. I know a lot about that, or I'm getting it, or I need more help. But you can just do it yourself. You don't need this kind of traffic lights. It's enough if you have these post-it notes and you ask students some questions that are like important or vital from the lesson. And you can collect the tickets or the papers, and then you can sort them out. And I don't know, you will see how many students got the topic, how many students need some work, and it could help you decide what to do next. When teaching online, or even in the class, in a real class, you can also use virtual exit tickets, which are quite popular among students, and yeah, they give you the same results. So I use Slido very often. Some people like Mentimeter. Students can write some things on Padlet, or you can use maybe some more sophisticated questions and maybe get some longer feedback through Google Forms. Kahoot is popular, and I will show you some examples with Jamboard. Yeah, this is the example of one exit ticket with my students in the first grade. I was covering the expressions of probability in the future. And after their group work, where they discussed different aspects of future, this was the last activity during the online lesson. I asked them to write their idea about the future of the world. So I could see some ideas from the discussion in the group, but I could also find out what their grammar problems are. So I identified that there are some fossilized mistakes, probably from the primary schools, with using will plus be. And I could see that they still were not comfortable with the constructions that we did. It was like be unlikely or be likely to, because nobody had used these constructions. So probably the practice wasn't enough. So during next lessons, I got to these constructions again, and I know that when I get to the expression of future as a grammar topic, I have to work very carefully with will plus be, which is a typical Slovak mistake that students forget to put be there. So this is what this exit ticket told me. I have already mentioned that all this is connected with planning, and as you can see here, Dylan William, who is the father, I can say, of formative assessment and responsive teaching, thinks that teachers should spend more time planning than marking, and really marking is a waste of time if you don't do it like Evka showed us, that students are redoing things, they are correcting their own mistakes, so they are working on it somehow with sense. So how I connect my planning with evaluation and assessment. This is a task, again, it's writing for my secondary school students, and in a book we had a topic described, it was a description of a place. And so I thought it's not a very good topic, because when do you write a description of a place? So I chose some blocks about places. That means travel blogs which describe places. And so we studied nice examples, good examples of these blogs. We found out the positive features, we analyzed them, and then my students got this task. You can see it's written in detail, so students can see what I'm expecting from them in each paragraph. That I expect from them to use some modifying adverbs with adjectives, that they should use informal style. Here is the length of the text, and here is the deadline. You can see it was before Corona time, so there were two possibilities how to get it to me. Some people might have objections that this doesn't look very creative, but I think that students can be creative when they have learned something. So you need to master something, and then you can be creative. And I think there are many other opportunities to be creative during the lessons. What I see as positive of such detailed criteria is that students exactly know what to do. The second, they can check it after they have done it. Have I used this? Have I implemented this one? When am I supposed to send it? And so on and so on. So they can check it, and then it's for you, it's quite simple to assess it, to grade it, because you can almost measure how good this is. So I usually do video feedback for this kind of essays. So now I can try to share with you one of the feedbacks for that. So I hope you will hear that. So this is a kind of feedback my students get for their essays. I'm still working on it. It's still under construction, I would say. I'm not satisfied with it because still I'm talking too much. And sometimes I think that students are overwhelmed with information, but I must say they appreciate it, they like it, because yeah, I can say more orally than in writing. So this is how it sounds like.
Well, Emma, thank you for your essay. So it's got a clear introduction, it's got clear conclusion. I can also see clearly and read clearly your arguments, which are supported by some examples and your views on this. So that's great. As you can see, there are some really not big mistakes, but this is probably you should work on. You are fluent, your English is fluent, so that's why now you should concentrate more on details, because you have problems with some small things which really spoil what you write. So yeah, there is only English is the only worthy language. Okay, this is the adjective. Okay, except for some exceptions. In the word exception, you have just typo, so C is missing. So there should be preposition except for. So be careful with capital letters in names of languages and nations, like it's German, by the way, Russian, and so on. A foreigner. When a foreigner asks me for direction, this is okay. Primarily.
Okay, so I've just chosen this example randomly. I didn't look for the perfect one, and so as you can see, I'm still working on it, and I have to give it some structure. But students appreciate it a lot, and they react very well on this kind of feedback. Yeah, I use Snagit as a tool for that. Okay, let me get there. Fine. Here is another example how to use checklists and how to use instructions for students. And again, it's got several ways how it can be useful. So this is something, let's say, for younger students. You teach them how to describe their room. So you ask them to draw a picture with 5 pieces of furniture. They should have the correct names of the furniture, and they should write 5 sentences about it with 4 adjectives, and they should use this construction. So again, the student is working on it, and they can check instantly whether they have used it or not. And it's also a good tool to teach them peer assessment. So later in the class, they can work in pairs, and you can tell them, okay, take the checklist as well and check your peers' work. Does it have 5 pieces of furniture? Does it have 5 correct names of it? And so on and so on. So students are taught this way how to assess, how to check what's good, what's not, and they also are taught how to express what's good, what's not, and how to, let's say, measure it. So I think this is also quite a useful tool and very clear, and yeah, students can easily orientate in it. When we talk about assessment, about responsive teaching, the question of tests is always something that is often discussed, because some teachers who have tried many things, or who try to be progressive, think that the test is something that stresses students too much, and that students really are afraid of tests, and so on and so on, which is true. If the test becomes the goal of the education, of learning, then it's a mistake. If a test is used as a tool, then it's okay. So what's important, again, here's the quote by Dylan William: the best person to mark the test is the person who just took it. So this is what I often do with my students, that we write a pre-test, which has the same form, the very similar content, and the same length as the test they are going to write for grades. And so they can be sure that, I did well in this part of the test, and I didn't do well in this part of the test, so I have to work on it. Very often I don't even ask them what their results were. They know what they should work on, or they can discuss it with me. Sometimes I do a small experiment with them, and they like it, that when they get this final test, I give them 5 minutes when they put down their pens. They can't use their pens, but for 5 minutes they can look into the text, look into textbooks, they can discuss some questions with their peers, their classmates. They can even ask me, or they can even look up things on the internet. So they have 5 minutes for that, and then they can write. Why do I do that? Because I think that your brain learns a lot when in stress. So when you are under the stress, and the stress is not like negative, you can learn a lot. And it's somehow supported by this research, which was done in 2006. There are 2 groups of students, and one group, after 7 minutes of study, one group had the opportunity to study more, and the other group took a practice test. So you could see that when this final test was taken 5 minutes after. The results were better for this first group who studied more, but then it was quite the opposite, that the students who took a practice test without any stress, without like some threat, without feeling threatened by some grades or marks, that it really helped to somehow retain the skills, the knowledge, and so on. So let's use tests, but let's not use them like a weapon or something that really worries our students. Sometimes last year I was at school where I had a really weak groups of students. So I wanted them to experience success. That's why I use in tests sometimes, and of course not the whole test was made up of these, but I asked my students, for example, to write these things, and or when it was a vocabulary test, and I asked them to use these words in the sentences. Because almost everybody remembers at least something. Everybody remembers something which is useful, or his or her brain thinks it's useful. Everybody remembers something that was easy to remember from the set of words. And taken right about was also complicated as well, because usually you remember something that was difficult because you want to remember it. And so there was almost no way to fail, or to fail totally, when you add some questions like this into your test. So I use it from time to time as bonus things, because I think that the brain decides what it learns, and not the teacher. Who am I to decide which words somebody's brain is going to remember? So that's why I give them this opportunity to use the words that they really know. Sometimes objections against formative assessment and responsive teaching are, oh, it's a lot of work, I don't have time for this, to write to all these students, and so on and so on. You can differentiate in these situations. So you don't have to write long emails to all your students. For example, we had a reading lesson. We were working with a text, and as an outcome of this lesson, I asked my students to prepare a poster or an infographic with the main ideas from the text. So more, almost everybody did it in a very nice way. There was one student who is very weak, but his work was surprisingly good, but there were a lot of typos, and words were not used correctly. Yeah, the word soap instead soup, for example. So he got an email in Slovak, because he had a great chance to get one, but he needed to understand what I want from him. So he got an email in Slovak. Another student, her work was good, but there was in the title, directly in the title, there was quite serious grammatical mistake. So I asked her just to correct this. And two students got video feedback from me because it was necessary. There were more mistakes. So I like consulted it just with 4 students. The rest of them got 1. And because I want them to feel appreciated, I put their work on a Padlet. And because I wanted the others to somehow go through the works, I asked the class to review, to assess, to evaluate the works with stars. And so again, they could feel appreciated, they could feel that somebody is interested in their work. And I think this is very important somehow, especially in online teaching and learning, because you know we are remote and students can't feel what you feel about them. So this is the way how to appreciate them. What I see as inevitable part of responsive teaching is reflection. So here are some ways how to reflect your teaching. It's really great to record yourself. Even the thought that I'm being recording myself, it helps me. And I have a feeling that I'm better at these moments. Or sometimes in my head, I have the idea, oh, I should have done it this way. And so I'm analyzing my lessons instantly. Share this video with somebody from your professional learning network or personal learning network, and discuss it. There are many ways how to learn about mentoring these days, how to do mentoring, how to find somebody who you will share your lessons with. So, and it really helps a lot. So you can invite colleagues to observe your class, to be present. I ask my students for feedback at least twice a year. We via Google Forms we work on a detailed feedback, and then sometimes I do it as an exit ticket during my lessons. Try to think about your lesson. I think we do it. Keep a blog or journal. I use Facebook for it. Some of you might know that I write my ideas and thoughts about teaching on Facebook. I have a Facebook page where I write in Slovak for Slovak teachers of English. I tried to do it in English, but I found out that it's got better response when it's in Slovak. So I have a page for English teachers, but it's in Slovak. Yeah, don't be too critical, because some people know that I like John Hattie, and he has found out that almost everything you do in class has some impact, some positive impact on students. So don't be too critical. With good intention, you most often can't be wrong. Surround yourself with enthusiasm. I can feel it here with Soul, and as Klaudia said, I am a member of Komensky Institute. This is a non-profit organization which involves teachers who have a potential to be leaders in some areas, and we really support each other really very much, and we organize different things together. And yeah, it's really good for your self-development. Yeah, look for what's working, not for what's not working. If it doesn't work, don't do it. But on the other way, it needs about 6 months to implement some changes in your teaching. Diversify your metrics. That means do things differently, try new things, and don't worry. The worst thing can be that it won't work, and so you can try something else next time. So in a nutshell, why do I like responsive teaching? And these are the words of Harry Fletcher Wood, who wrote a book on this topic, because it allows me to use clear goals and to plan clearly and carefully my lessons. It helps me to identify what students have understood and where they are struggling. It helps me to respond and adapt my teaching to support that students and support what students need. If you are interested in either formative assessment or responsive teaching, these are 3 very good books on this topic, and I'm really glad that these ideas are slowly coming also to Slovakia, and I'm very happy that I could share them with you today. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anička, for your great workshop. It's actually very nice to hear that you, Evka, as well as Andrea, who is going to follow in a few minutes, you are completely in concord, filling in each other on the thing. So lovely. We have a good choice of speakers today, not just, you know, great speakers, but also three that totally fits together. So thank you for doing that. We have, in the meanwhile, we have planned with Mark a little break just to give you a tiny refreshment. And Mark has found this great song that I'm going to play for you. Just give me a second. I'll get it. I need to set it up.
Before you play it, Klaudia, can I say a few words?
Yes, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. I've just put a link in the chat. Could you open that link, yeah, and have a look at it? And there are one or two of you here who might recognize one or two. I know Carla should recognize one or two of these people. Yeah, like if you see the picture there. Now, this is a great friend of Grenville's, actually. Since Grenville has been, I mean, it's 30 years, we're 30 years old now. And Grenville, as well as recruiting lots of teachers, native speaker teachers actually, to work in Central Eastern Europe, we've had lots of teacher training courses in Devon. And one of the features of these courses in Devon is that Grenville, on the first Wednesday, so on the third day in the evening, always invite some local musicians to play songs. Yeah, they sing Irish songs, they sing songs about Devon, lots of different things. And if you have a look, have you managed to open it? Okay, can you read that? Can you see who the article is about?
John Parker.
John Parker, that's right, yes. And
Exmoor carolers.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Exmoor carolers, yes.
That's right, yeah. And John Parker also, I saw the book when because I've often stayed at Grenville's house, you know, over the last 10 years. And John Parker wrote a very good book about words, language connected to the sea. And I was thinking about this last night at Grenville's talk, when Grenville was looking at sport in a really interesting way. And we got it recorded, yeah, so we can share that with you. And he was looking at all of the expressions that come from sport that are in the English language. For example, like from cricket, you know, to have a good innings, yeah, which means to have a long life, yeah, for example. Yeah, so Grenville has invited the Hearts of Oak on Wednesday nights, and John Parker sadly died at the age of 85, as you can see. And in that picture, Carla, do you recognize any of those people in the picture at all? Because there are in there the members of the Hearts of Oak. Yeah? The Hearts of Oak, yeah? Can you see any of them? Yeah. If you look on the left-hand side, yeah, at the bottom, there's a guy called Rupert, yeah, Rupert Kirby, yeah, who is a fantastic musician. He's also a lorry driver for a bit, worked in a school. There's also on the right a man called Jeff Hawkins, and Jeff Hawkins, let me just show you. One of the great things when people come to Devon is to enjoy Hawkins ice cream.
Ice cream, yeah.
Which is the best ice cream in North Devon. And Jeff Hawking is one of the musicians. And then Tony at the top in the picture. Tony lives in Linton and often takes people to Exmoor and shows people around. Anyway, on the Wednesday evenings, they sing all these songs. And we usually end the evening with a song called Steal Away, which is written by Phil Coulter, who is Irish, comes from Derry, and actually a song, you know, which is very much about the troubles in Northern Ireland. Yeah, and everyone sings this song, and it's nice. And I was thinking, like, we need a song for Saul, you know, and we need some different words to it. Yeah, so So I sat down one night and thought of some words for solidarity for soul. Agim, the husband of our North Macedonian coordinator, Selpi Poshka, has actually made a recording of this. I haven't seen it yet, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it with some of his musicians. Because one way of raising money is to have good songs, you know, like that. So we did this song. Yeah, are you ready with it, Klaudia? Yeah. Or
yes, yes, sure, I'm ready. Yeah.
So share your sound, not my sound, and this is the song. Right, you're ready to go. It's 3, 2, 1.
Save our soul, let's save our soul. That is our current goal. Those trips to Devon, they felt like heaven. The reason to save our soul.
Great, Ronan. Yeah. Let's save our soul and chase those dreams to travel and broaden our minds, tasting cream teas and seeing the sea, learning English and feeling free.
Save our soul, let's save our soul. That is our current goal. Those trips to Devon, they felt like heaven. The reason to save our soul.
That's lovely, Ronan. Well done. I'll do the next verse. These 2 years have been hard, but we need to restart. And with your help, we'll do it. 30 years ago, we started to grow, and now's not the time to quit. Chorus, Ronan. Nice and loud.
Save our soul, let's save our soul. That is our current goal. Those trips to Devon, they felt like heaven. The reason to save our soul.
Great. Still part of Europe, sharing one language, from the Baltic to the Adriatic. Our mission is the same, Sol is our name, and together we will survive. Chorus.
Save our soul, let's save our soul. That is our current goal. Those trips to Devon, they felt like heaven. The reason to save our soul.
Right, should we do it together now? Save our soul, let's save our soul. That is our current goal. Those trips to Devon, they felt like heaven. The reason to save our soul. Yeah!
Super, perfect.
That was really, really nice. Have you written these lyrics?
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that. Really, really lovely song. You should, think about spreading it a bit more. It's really lovely. So a bit of a humanism, and now we can move to a third workshop from Andrea Zahumenska, teacher at the Bridge and as well as a member of SCELT. And Andrea is going to complement on Eva's and Janka's workshop, Anka's workshops, and talk about learner autonomy and homeworks and motivation and so on and so on. So Andrea, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask you if you would like a short couple of minutes of break, because this is the third one in a row that you are doing on Saturday morning, or you want me to start straight away? So it's up to you.
I think just go on, Andrejka.
Okay, fine. So I'm going to talk about encouraging autonomous learning. So I would like to start by asking you who you think is an autonomous learner. So if you can write in the chat your definition of an autonomous learner. I would be very interested to see your opinions. Okay, very nice. Feel responsibility for the learning, self-motivation, nice. Okay. All right, perfect. Absolutely, responsibility and motivations are the main keys for autonomous learning. I'm going to share my presentation, and when we speak about autonomous learning, we think about our students in the first line, but I would like to start with teachers, because as it was mentioned a couple of times today in the previous workshops, teacher is a role model for the student, and even for adult learners. So teacher is someone who is a role model in terms of maybe knowledge, in terms of the language, in terms of your personality, whatever. And I believe that the teacher who stops learning, it cannot be a good role model for the students. Now, a year ago, I started my Trinity Diploma qualifications, which is an equivalent of Delta. And I thought after 20 years of teaching, it would be just a walk in the park. But I have to say that even the very first task was an eye-opener for me, because we were asked to do reflection on our teaching. And yes, we do reflection on the lessons. Oh, this I did well, this could have been done differently. But for this task, we were asked a series of questions, which I would like to share with you, because especially for those of you who are experienced teachers, it might be interesting time to think about your teaching and answer some of these questions. So the first one is, what would your least favorite student say about your lessons? Not the most favorite one, because we know what that person would say, but the least favorite one, and how much truth is in their opinion. Are you sure that you are challenging all your students? When was the last time you learned something new? When was the last time you put yourself in the shoes of a learner? It doesn't have to be a completely new skill. It can be or a new language. It can be, I don't know, a hobby. How can you do less? This is an interesting one, especially for those of you who tend to spoon feed your students. Because if you do less, inevitably, your students must do more. When was the last time you observed your colleague, or when was the last time you were observed? Anička mentioned it in her talk, and probably it's easier if you work for a school, then the observation is part of the process. But if you are a freelancer, then just record yourself. Record yourself, watch yourself. Many teachers don't like it. Many teachers don't like, oh, I don't like the way I look, I don't like my voice. But that's not the point. The point is to watch yourself and to see what you're doing. And the last one, what have you stopped doing? You know, when we start teaching, we are enthusiastic and we prepare perfect lessons and we have a great warmer and staging and timing, everything is perfect. But as we become more and more experienced, there are things which we stop doing because it becomes more comfortable, it becomes easier. So maybe once in a while, it's good to think about it and remember what we used to do and maybe go back to some of the things which we did at the beginning of our teaching. Okay. I do encourage you to think about these questions. And if you take away nothing else from my session today, at least take this a reflection point. Okay. Now, this is a definition of learner autonomy, and you were right. That's exactly what you said in your chat. So it's a connection between desire, freedom, and ability. And I'm going to look at learner autonomy or encouraging learner autonomy from one angle. Klaudia mentioned homework. So because I believe that by showing students different possibilities, by giving them different tools, they know what they can do outside the lessons. These are my favorite quotes, and I believe that this is very true. Mainly, maybe not mainly, but definitely for our learners at language schools, because they come to lessons once a week, and you know they say, "Oh, I'm very busy, I can't do anything else." But if they have lessons only once a week, then not much progress is going to happen, and they tend to rely on you as teachers, and they expect you to do the miracle, but that's not going to happen. They must be engaged in learning, and they must be the ones who do the learning, who do the job of learning. Okay. So at our school, we've been working with teachers for quite some time towards encouraging students to be autonomous learners. And this year, I did a little research in our school about attitudes of teachers and students to homework. And the teachers from the bridge who are here today, you've seen some of the results and some of the graphs, but I would like to share with you some results. I had 19 teachers participating in the research and 15% of our group classes students. This is a very nice result for us because it shows that almost 82% of our students want homework because they believe that homework is something which helps them to make progress in their learning. You may say, oh, you are very lucky, you work with motivated students, but I wouldn't say it's just a pure luck. I would say that this is work of our teachers. Okay. Next one is, I asked students how much time they spent on homework currently. So majority of them said that it's up to 30 minutes, which is, our teachers are very considerate. They give them homework, which is not so time consuming. It's up to 30 minutes a week. But actually what they would like is to have something which is between 30 and 60 minutes a week. Okay. I'm not saying it means that our teachers should assign twice as much homework, but it means that they are ready to do extra work because they understand that this is a way how to make progress. These two graphs, it was a nice comparison of what are the reasons for not completing homework. Our teachers, majority of them thought that it's the busy workload, which, yes, it's true. For adult learners, they are very busy. But the percentage, the second graph shows how students see it. So it's not such a high percentage of students who use their busy workload as an excuse for not doing homework. And the green bit, 25%, were actually offended by my question because they said, oh, I always do my homework. Okay. And there we have the blue one. It's there are other reasons like, you know, the homework is not interesting or one student said that his wife is the main obstacle for him not doing his homework. So this shows that sometimes it's important to ask students for feedback and to discuss the reasons. Okay, so maybe you think they are busy, but maybe the reason is somewhere else. I'm going to show you one more comparison. These are the types of homework that our teachers usually assign to our students. So as you can see, it's everything from grammar exercises, written assignments, extended reading, short reading, you name it, presentations, learning apps. And guess what was the most desired type of homework that our students presented? When I asked them, which type of homework would you like the most? It's maybe not surprising, exercises, grammar and vocabulary exercises. Yes, it kind of makes sense because grammar is something which they lack. It's something which they see as their weakness. And also in the lessons, they can do other things. They can practice their speaking, they can practice other skills, but they feel that maybe exercises are something they can do at home and they can practice or drill. The last graph or chart I want to show you are the things which they do if they are not assigned any homework. So you can see that usually it's movies or different videos or short articles. Only 3 students search information on the internet, which is, I mean, it's not surprising, but maybe it's something that you can encourage your students to do. You know, search for information in English, because it's a nice way how they can practice the language. And once they start doing it more regularly, it becomes a habit. Okay. Now, we are speaking about homework, and I would like to ask you to work in small groups. I'm going to put you into breakout rooms, and I would like you to discuss with your colleagues what type of homework do you usually assign to your students. The reason being is that maybe you can inspire each other. Maybe you can give each other some ideas, some tips. So I'll create small groups, and when you come back, we can share ideas, and then I'm going to tell you some things that I did with my students that worked, and maybe it will be inspiration for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to create, let's say, 5 groups, and I'll give you 5-7 minutes, right? We can test how many people are here and listening and how many people went away. Excellent. Thank you very much for your active discussions. So shall we have maybe just a short maybe summary from each group, if you don't mind, maybe some interesting ideas, tips that you shared. So let's start with group 1. Anička, Mishka, somebody. Okay, I'm going to choose Mishka. Sorry, Mishka.
Yeah, we gave homework, and we talked about, we had 3 different types of teachers. There was somebody that we had a teacher who teaches little kids. So she doesn't really give homework to kindergarten kids. And then we had Anička, who teaches high school kids. And I teach adults. So we talk about different types of homeworks, the creative ones, the flashcard. And I was talking about giving bonus homework or just thinking homework, which is more successful than giving the exercises. The students have tend to do it more often.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by thinking homework?
Thinking homework is think about some opinion before, or think about some controversial opinion, or even think about the differences between these two words, which I want them to think about before.
So
and I usually find out that they think, yeah.
Okay.
That they thought about it.
Very nice, thank you. Group number 2, Evka, Ludmila, Vanda, Virka. Okay, I'm going to choose. Vanda, guess who is going to be? Andy?
So we discussed the presentations or videos as the favorite kind of homework, and also I said that I like giving my students a choice. So I normally give them 2 or 3 kinds of homework to choose from, and then everybody can decide what they want or what they feel like doing after the lesson.
Super, thank you. Group 3, Ilonka?
So I was lucky to be in group with Rakesh and Gretka, whom I honor very much and find inspirational. So Rakesh gave me a chance to give my viewpoint on that, and we agreed, or I was assured that what is necessary is, before you assign the homework, is to give enough of input so that it's not a burden, but it's something that the kids know how to do, or students in general know how to do. And you showed it in the chart. I was thinking that it's that they know that it's engaging and they know they can do it. They are capable of doing that in a certain level, rather than being it something that is torture for them. So that they feel happy and relaxed in what they are doing, and they know that there will be some feedback afterwards. So they know that they are doing it for some reason, and as you showed in the chart, they know that they are achieving something from it.
Perfect, thank you very much. Number 4, maybe Mark, if you don't mind. Mark, you're muted.
I came to it late, yeah, so one of the others can explain. Yeah?
Okay. So maybe Nazila?
Yes, I hope you can see me, you can hear me. I don't know whether it's working properly or not, because I was checking the side that their mic set. Yes, I was in group of 4. Luckily, we had Mark in the group. He told us that we need to teach students how to use a dictionary. It is the best way to find some vocabularies, come to the class and talk more about it, more information that they got, whether they formal words, informal, or anything it could be, share with other classmates. The second thing, he said that we need to teach students how to learn. If they learn how to learn, they can learn. And the other people in the group, one of them said that they usually share some extra grammar activities, and that was good. Another one, I can't remember the name, Carolina or something, sorry, I can't remember exactly the name, said that she uses the idioms in the context, and then asks the students to learn the idioms in context, and then use the correct vocabulary, the grammar related to the idiom or something they had learned. I don't know if she's here, she can explain it better, because it was so brief. And in my case, I said that based on the books we're teaching, every session students have 2 pages of the workbook and extra grammar that they have to do per day. And something that we add is, because the students are afraid of the cameras, we ask them to make the video of themselves or record their voice once in a while and send it to the portal that we've got. And the third one is the teamwork. In the groups of 3, they work on the topic. The session after one is the presenter. The other one will answer the students who ask the question, the other groups, the question that they come up with. And the third one is just a helper. Anytime the other 2 fail to talk, the third one go for it. Sorry if it was long.
Thank you for lots of interesting ideas. All right, and the last group, Carrie, I need to ask you to summarize.
Well, many of the things that have already been mentioned, you know, you've kind of stolen all our good ideas straight away. But Carla did make the point that, you know, the style of homework she creates has kind of had to change over the last 12 months due to the pandemic. So it was important for Carla to have interactive activities set for the students so they could do some homework tasks and projects together, so that, you know, the homework isn't just generic paperwork. They are practicing their language skills together as they would do in a normal classroom. So, you know, I think, yeah, that was the only addition I could make to what's already been discussed, I think.
Thank you very much. Yes, nice to hear Welsh accents. That's why I asked Kerry to summarize the group number 5. Okay, so let me just continue with, maybe I'll give you some other ideas that I tried with my students, and it was, I would say, successful. It's just the food for thought, and maybe a tip to try. So video recipe. You know, just ask them to watch a video recipe of a famous chef and a cook based on the recipe. This picture here is a spaghetti carbonara cooked by my A2 student. He cooked it for his girlfriend. Apparently it was a successful easy evening, as I was told. And it was Jamie Oliver's recipe. At the beginning of this year, I asked them to prepare a song that represented the year of 2020. It was a difficult year of pandemic, and I have to say that this was a nice task to do because it sparked discussion, and I have to say that they come up with very interesting songs. English diary. It's nothing innovative, but nowadays you can ask them to keep a diary, not only written diary, but you can ask them to record themselves at the end of each day. So then they can practice their speaking, they can practice pronunciation. You can ask them to record each day, maybe something that they are grateful for. Maybe describe their best 15 minutes of the day. Hopefully not every day they will say, oh, it was my lunchtime. So, you know, things like this. Or ask them to do their hobby in English. For example, if somebody likes yoga, yoga was actually very popular during the pandemic because it helped many people to keep their thoughts together and do something for their body if they couldn't leave the house. And there are many English YouTube yoga channels. So do encourage them to do something in English. For young people, you have lots of YouTubers who they record videos opening a package or playing a video games, which I personally don't understand how can somebody watch it, but obviously the kids will love it. Or songs, there is a great application, a lyrics training, which is very nice. I'm sure you know it because teenagers and kids and even adults like it very much. Letter to future yourself. That's something that students like doing. I'm sure you've tried it, but I'm just reminding you that it's something to do and it's worth doing. Record themselves and analyze it. I used it when we were working on a pronunciation task. It was, I think, short and long vowels. And I asked them to record themselves and analyze the recording and send it to me. And it was useful for them, but also useful for me because it made me realize that they actually can't hear their own mistakes. Last one, which I would like to share with you, is selecting homework for their peers. I have a group that I've been teaching for a long time. They are B2 level, and they have the privilege of criticizing the homework that I send them. So, you know, it takes ages for me to find something interesting for them. And when I do, they say, oh, you know, it was boring, I didn't like the topic. So what I started to do, every week I ask one of them to select homework for their peers. They are at the level that they can search stuff on online, and they can find something which is appropriate for the level. And now they start appreciating that it takes a long time, and they start appreciating that's not such an easy task, and they're actually much more understanding for each other. So maybe it's also a way to do. And I would like to finish by just a few tips. So sometimes the word homework has a negative connotation because in traditional schools or people think about it from traditional teaching background. So find an alternative to the word homework. You know, you can call it assignment, you can call it extra practice, you can call it whatever, if you feel that homework doesn't sound good to your students. Just like you plan your lessons, plan the homework, because it shouldn't be something that you didn't have time for during the lesson, which sometimes it does happen. You know, sometimes the discussion is longer, sometimes there are technical difficulties, whatever. But in an ideal world, homework should be something that either practices the things that we covered in the lesson or prepares them for the following lesson. Get feedback from your students. Also, Anka was saying in the previous presentation that she asks for feedback on her lessons regularly, but also include feedback on the homework. Maybe you think that this is happening, but maybe the reality is somewhere else. So don't forget to get feedback. I believe that variety of homework is important. Yes, in my research, we found out that they want grammar exercises, and yes, it makes sense. On the other hand, if you do give them a variety, you are giving them different possibilities, what they can do without you, outside the lessons, and they know where to go and they know what to do. Don't forget to give feedback on homework, because they feel that it's not appreciated, the time that they spent on doing the homework and the time they invested into the extra practice. So don't forget to ask about the homework, don't forget to give them feedback, because I think, you know, it's worth it. Vanda mentioned choice of homework, which I believe it's very motivational. Students can choose, if you give them 2 or 3 options, students can choose something that they are in a mood of doing that week, or maybe it feels closer to their heart. And sometimes the active ones, they will do all the 3 options. For busy people, you can find lots of things that they can do in English. It doesn't have to be, I don't know, long reading or an exercise. You can just discuss with them what they can do in English that they would normally do in Slovak anyway. You know, maybe they can set their phone in English. Maybe they can listen to podcasts while they are driving. You know, there are different ideas and different ways. So just don't give up on the students, even if they keep saying how busy they are. So try to find things which they can do in English anyway. And the last tip is, how old is your English? I heard this question from a teacher trainer at Pilgrims, and he asks students, how old is your English? And what he means is that, imagine that you have a student who says, oh, I've been learning English for 5 years, but I come to lessons once a week and I do nothing else. I have a break in the summer. So if we calculated, in those 5 years, he spent about 225 hours working on his English. That's actually only 9 days. So his English is 9 days old, right? So what can you expect from somebody who is 9 days old, right? I know this is a bit far-fetched, but what I'm trying to say is that they can say, I've been learning English for 5 years, but in reality, it's much less, because it's only a little time that they invest into their learning. Okay. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, or if you would like to discuss anything, I'm happy to answer your questions, or I'm happy to discuss whatever.
Thank you, Andrejka. It was very inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No questions?
Nice recap. Thank you also. Lots of little things that you reminded us about that we should not forget about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea. Thanks for your workshop. So slowly but steadily, we're getting to the end of our lovely morning. So another thing that we would like to do to wrap up our Saturday morning session, I've got a lovely video of Anka, actually, wishing Sol all the best. So I'll suggest we play the video. Anka has decided that she's a better actor on the video than on live. So let me share with you the video.
Hello, my name is Anna Haverová and I'm a teacher from Slovakia. I have been with SOL for almost 20 years now. At first as a teacher who brought her students to Barnstaple, and for about the last 5 years as a Slovak coordinator. What does SOL mean to me? A lot. SOL reminds me of a shell with a big pearl in it. Shell is a school in Bridge Chambers, and Pearl are the people who work in SOL. People who try to make your stay the most enjoyable and challenging. Devoted teachers, great guides, people in the office, and of course, caring host families. The country of North Devon, where the school is based, charms everybody. You may be sure that taking part in a teacher's or student's course is a lifetime experience. During the 30 years, SOL has helped thousands of teachers and students, not only from Europe, to be better at English, to be more confident speakers of English. It was a hard work, but very well done. SOL, you did your best. A great thank you, SOL, for all you've done, you are doing, and you will do in another 30 years. Now here's a toast to another 30 years. Cheers.
So I would like to thank to you all for coming and joining us this morning. And also I would like to ask you very, very much to help SOL to survive. Yes, because SOL has done such a great work for us teachers and for our students, and I would love them to go on in their mission. We benefited from SOL for many years, so now it's our turn to pay back. So please donate, and let's hope everything will be okay, and we'll meet in Devon maybe later this year or hopefully next year. Okay, so have a nice afternoon and see you in some other sessions that are provided from SOL till the end of June. Okay, so have a nice day.
Have a nice Saturday. Have a nice Saturday. Bye bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye bye.